been carried up and up and up. I see an eagle. He hasn't stroked one time. He has not beat his wings one time. I see him in a thermal. He is not carried higher by the force of his ability. He is carried up on the wings of the wind. It's not just how hard we can beat our wings that takes us into higher and loftier places in God. As a matter of fact, often the moving of our positioning unlocks the set. An eagle has a lock in his wing. When he throws them up high enough and then back, they lock so that for hours he can glide and glide and glide. And if he does beat them again, he has to unlock them and often loses altitude. He may do it to dive on the prey. He may do it to move into an aggressive mode. He may do it to land on a perch. But if he wants to go higher, he doesn't just whip his wings to get there. He finds where the air is going up, and he stays there and is lifted on the breast of the wind. I think the wind is going up here. And somehow tonight I feel like locking my wings. I just don't feel like beating them. I just feel like locking back. You are welcome in this place, mighty God. You are awesome. You are awesome in this place, mighty God. You are awesome in this place, Abba Father. You are worthy of our praise. To you our hands we raise. You are awesome in this place, mighty God. Gary and I started singing together a long time ago. Matter of fact, I think he was 14 when I sat him on the piano bench. And then he was ornery too. So I put him on, took him off, put him on, took him off.
Don't tell all.
Isn't it amazing how God moves our lives around? You're about to come into a marvelous, absolute alteration of your structured problem. God is going to, I don't do this very often. Listen, a long time ago, I asked God to lift me out of having to operate in this gift because I pour my whole self into the Word. You know that. But I just need to tell you, darling, that you're not going to suffer like this very long. No. You're going to come out of this, and you're not going to be crashing, and you're not going to be struggling, and you're not going to be breaking. You are going to be whole. Huh? Hallelujah! It's all right. Let that out in Jesus' name. Release now. Be free in Jesus' name. Oh, kaya runda salaba runda. I break the power of that whole situation. The evil that is spoken will be turned backward. Arrows will be broken that have been sent toward your heart. They will melt the mind of the enemy that sent them. Come back like a boomerang. That's right. Jesus. 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 Hallelujah. You know what astonishes me sometimes? We're going to talk here just a little bit. You know what astonishes me sometimes? Is that we get caught up in our big deal. And we forget that the people who are here are people. And each of us individuals, with everyone, a situation. Every one of us with a situation. But yours is changing now. Yours is changing right now. I mean, there are huge, gigantic electromagnets, if you could see that in your mind, pulling things out. Stakes that have been driven, coming out right now. Some of them through your heart, coming out right now. In your body, coming out right now. In your mind particularly, coming out right now. Hallelujah. Yes, let that go. We're all going to sit right here and worship the Lord. Yeah, I'm not going to be moved from this thing. Yeah. Almighty God, there is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I want to do. That is what I long to do. I give you praise. I give you praise. For you are my righteousness. Oh, sing, girls. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. Oh, I worship you. My text is found in the 20th verse. I'll begin with the first. It came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south. And Ziklag was also invaded, and they had smitten it and burned it with fire. They'd taken away the women captive that were therein. They didn't kill anybody, little ones or big ones or anybody, but they carried them away and they went on their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the men that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. They cried till they couldn't cry anymore. Any of you been there lately? Hallelujah. David's two wives were taken captive. Ahinoam the Jezreelite, Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. This, of course, is a type of the first and the second covenant, a type of the law and grace. It was both under attack. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. Here's that marvelous passage. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Let the church say amen. Did you all go to sleep? No. If you're not worried about the time, say amen. Amen. If you expect me to preach at least an hour, say amen. Amen. Thank you. Say amen again. Amen. That's 2 hours. No, not really. David said to Abiathar the priest, Amalek's son, I pray thee bring me hither an ephod. Go get me a priest garment. Got a Urim and Thummim in there. Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. David inquired at the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail, and here we go, recover all. Let's all say recover all. I preached this message 30 years ago. Holy Ghost brought it back to me here the other day. So David went, he and 600 men that were with him, came to the brook Besor. Those that were left behind stayed. David pursued, he and 400 men. 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Besor. Now we go on down. He found somebody who knew where these rascals were that had stolen his wives and his kids and the children and the wives of his strong men. And he got this fella up by the throat and he said, I want you to tell me where they are. And so he said, well, if you won't kill me, I'll tell you. And just don't give me back to them, and I'll tell you. Now, I just cut out about 13 verses there. Now, I want to come on down here to verse 17. And David smote them from the twilight. Well, I like this. Matter of fact, I think I will back up just a little. 16th verse. When he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines, out of the land of Judah. David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men which rode upon camels, and they fled. I like that. That's funny. David recovered all. There it is again. Let's all say he recovered all. No. You got to say that. Let's say David recovered all. David recovered all. Mm-hmm. All that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. There was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither son nor daughter, neither spoil, nor anything that they had taken with them. David, here it is again, David recovered. Say it with me. David recovered. David took all the flocks and the herds which they drave before those other cattle. Now he got all his stuff back. Now he looks around and says, they took cows from other folks too. They took sheep and camels and goats from other people too. Look at all these other cattle. I think I'll take them too. So he didn't just get what he had lost, but he took all the flocks and the herds which they drove before those other cattle and said, this is David's spoil. Let's all say that together. This is David's spoil. That's my text. David's spoil. Just so you'll remember. Now, when I hear the name David, I heard Gary get up here and he says, now, David said he'd make your feet like hinds feet. He started right off talking about David. Isn't that funny? David. Let's all say David. David. I called up the Avis car place the other day in Cleveland, Ohio. Was it Columbus? I can't remember. I think it was Columbus, Ohio. I called up the Avis car folks, and When I rang the thing, it answered and it said, Avis, David speaking. I said, man, he's even over Davis. He's everywhere, David. My middle name is David. I mean, you know, you don't hear a lot of folks named Methuselah. You don't hear a lot of folks named, well, I better be careful now. I'm in different company. There are some folks named that. Let's see. But I mean, you just don't take your favorite son and name him Cain. Not normally. But if it is Cain, it's all right. Don't want you to get upset or nothing like that. And the reason is because the name David seems to illustrate the sweetness, the kindness, the gentleness, the thoroughness, the warriorship, the praise that God looks for. Even God would scratch a line and sum total his life and say he's a man after my own heart. Of all the men in the Patriot Gallery of the great book, not many equal, and certainly none eclipse the character, the quality, and the ability of David. Interesting man. So many men and women in the Bible. But out of all of the men, I was looking the other day in a bookstore, and I looked up on a ledge, and it had, I think it was 8 volumes. It could have been 10 volumes, and it says Spurgeon Messages, the works of Spurgeon. The subject was David. He wrote 10 volumes. Old Spurgeon wrote 10 volumes on David. David. You know, David, for all of his poetry and all of his warriorship and for all of his goodness and for all of his character, was also a vile sinner. He is a sinner's sinner. He will not only commit adultery with a woman, but he's doing that because he wasn't doing what else he ought to be doing. And that is when kings go forth to war, David stayed also at home. He should have been gone doing what he was supposed to be doing, and he stayed home and got in trouble. Then when he got in trouble, he's not just got in trouble with this lady, but he's going to go get her husband. I mean, she's a married woman. He's going to go get her husband killed. So he's not just an adulterer, he's going to go get her husband killed. So he's not just an adulterer, he's a murderer. So for all his greatness, he's a sinner. But for all of his sinning, God still sums it and says he is a man after my own heart. Because his repentance was as magnanimous as his crime. And his willingness to surrender was as horrendous as the great, unbelievable, unspeakable sin he had committed. David. I want to remind you that my last message in this house, I believe, had to do with going through process, coming out of wildernesses, being hidden long enough to take on the glory of the same. Anybody remember any of that stuff? I do want to bring you to a ray of hope here this evening. The last 3 times I've hollered in here, it's been treacherous and horrible. I think I reminded you that there's a whore in the land. A mystery woman who's decked in gorgeous clothes, crimson and purple and gold, and she is a harlot, and she rides the beast. It's the church system, and it's not the Roman Catholic Church. I'm sorry, but it's just all kinds of church. Are you all still all right? And I told you that we have so much religion, and we have committed so much spiritual idolatry, and we have married the people of Canaan so much and interbred the righteousness with the violent, that we can't separate the precious from the vile. We don't know what is God and what's religion. We don't know what's good and what's God. If it's good, we say it's God. If it can sing high, we say it's anointing. The fact is, it's talent. It's only anointing when talent is given so wholly to God that it's not us anymore. A lot of stuff going on, and I've been hollering, it's my thing. I'm not going to stop doing this because there's not enough other folks to do it. They're too busy making you happy. You need me. But I want to come and bring you some daylight today and tell you that this wilderness is not forever, but the process is mandatory, and you got to stay here long enough for the process to work. Be sure you carry this baby into the 3rd trimester. Otherwise, it'll be born dead. You got to get into the 3rd dimension of God's grace. That's why we can't forget the old hymns, because it's psalms and hymns, and then we'll never get to a spiritual song until and it's in that order, Donnie. Always remember, it's in that order. Psalms, the singing of Scripture. When the choir sang, the first thing they sang out of the book of Revelation, sang psalms. That a psalm is not just the psalm of David. That's just the psalm of David. But a psalm is the singing of any Scripture. So we should begin singing the word. And then we move from that into a hymn. And a hymn is nothing more than singing that which is true. It's not necessarily Scripture, but it is truth out of Scripture that never changes. What can wash away my sin? That's a hymn. That's not necessarily Scripture, but it sure enough could be. And that leads you into a place where you take a microphone and get up here and go, what's he doing? Singing in the Spirit, a creative force, a sovereign operation. Make sure you carry this thing you're carrying. It may make you awkward and give you stretch marks, but don't spit it out till you've carried it long enough. Don't stop the process. Some of you are saying, I didn't ask for this. And the truth of the matter is, David didn't either. Can I just catch you up and bring you up to Ziklag? Okay. Well, it kind of started out with him when God spoke to Samuel and said, I want you to go down to Jesse's house. For I have chosen there among his sons a king. Now, Samuel's not a fool. He says, excuse me, we already got a king. And if Saul hear of this, he's going to kill me. Are you all okay? Even the good man Samuel, I mean, he knew God was talking to him. God, it's the same God that said, Samuel, Samuel. He goes running into Eli. You called me. See, he got taught the difference in man's voice and God's voice. No, I didn't call you, son. Go lay down. That's what every preacher doesn't have God says. Go lay down. And the whole thing is that Eli was an old system. His sons were sons of Belial. He's overweight. He's obese. He'll fall down and kill himself. And so does every old system. We don't need the progeny of old systems. We need a paradigm shift in the spirit that sires something absolutely different than you've ever known, no matter how great it was. God wants to do something exactly opposite of what you thought he was going to do. But to do it, he has to lead you down the mental paths and the emotional structured ways that you cannot understand until you are absolutely disheveled and confused and contorting and wandering and misconceiving. And until you get there, you're not following God. Because if you knew how to go, you could do it. But if you follow God, you'll walk where you don't know how to walk. And it'll confuse your mind, upset your strategy, mess with your program. And so Samuel knew the voice of God. I mean, he knew it was God. And he's talking back. He's saying, if I go down there and anoint one of Jesse's boys to be a king, hey, if Saul hears about that, he'll kill me. I want to tell you something that you need to know that you might not have known before. This is going to be very important. I'm going to say this one time. Listen to this one time. You ready for this? God always anoints something new while something old is still anointed. That's what brings massive confusion. God intended it that way. That's why he'll test you to the point where you'll say, I cannot touch the Lord's anointed, and yet you're the one with the sticky oil in your hair. He doesn't just absolutely cut everything off and cut all the strings and say, now you go ahead. No, you're still going to be confused looking back and looking forward. Don't think it's strange that you're caught in the tide. Don't be confused and think you're out of order because you don't know if you should or if you shouldn't. That's not terrible. That's just human nature. God didn't expect you to be an angel. He'd made you one. You're going to wonder. You're going to question. You're going to go through all kinds of hell. You ain't going to know what to do. Don't think that's bad. That's not bad. That's part of the process. This God we got is goofy. He does this stupid stuff like telling you the first line of the story and the last line of the story, and he leaves out everything in between. He'll say, get thee up and get thee out, and I will give you a land. He didn't tell you nothing about them 25 years. And that's the 25 years of what kills you, man, because you thought, well, I got up and I got out. Now where's the land? See, for 25 years you don't know what's going on. That's God. If you leave me alone, I might preach yet. Hey, if I go down, so God was kind to Samuel. You ready for this? He says, I'll tell you what. You go on down to Jesse's house and you take a heifer with you. Just leave that heifer down there. And you just say, when you come down there to Bethlehem, I've come to sacrifice to the Lord my God. Now, what's he really going down there to do? Now, what's he really going down there to do? Help me just a little. What's he really going down there to do? To anoint a new king. It looks like God fibbed for him. God got him out of a bind. He's going to lead a heifer down there and say, I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. Just slipping on down. Just going to go over and see Brother Jesse while I'm in town. Going to kill this fatted calf. Hallelujah. Oh, glory. Oh, just can't wait to get to church. As it were. If you say as it were, it makes it very spiritual. You ought to try that sometime while you talk. Say as it were, and everybody goes, what were it? It does. It looks like God's cheating for him. God knows very well he's going down to anoint a king. Samuel knows he's going down to anoint a king. He comes into town. The men of Bethlehem say, you come peaceably? He said, oh, yeah, I just come to sacrifice to the Lord. No biggie here. Come with me to the sacrifice. That's what he told all those guys in town. Come on. See, what we don't understand is that God cannot lie. Now, we think God can't tell a lie. The truth is God cannot lie. Even if it's a lie, if he says it, it's true. You got to think about that. If he says it, it don't matter if it's true or not. That's why he's the God that calls the things that are not as though they were. Don't make any difference. If he said it, it don't have to be true. It's true when he got through saying it. It's true now. It's true now. Hey, you're going down to anoint a son. It's also true you're going to a sacrifice. The truth is that if oil ever hits your head, you have a target painted on your heart. God never anoints anybody that he doesn't put on an altar. God didn't fib for Samuel. He told the truth. It's one and the same. If you anoint a man, you automatically target him for absolute, unbelievable sacrifice. And we disdain it, we despise it, we don't like it. We think anointing is good stuff, wonderful stuff, great stuff. And I'm going through all this mess. I'm going through all this struggle. I can't understand why people are saying what they're saying. And do you know what they did last week to me? You know what they said over my church last month? I'm going to tell you what. Do you know what those people, they were the closest people in the world to me. I have been with them since I was just a little boy. I mean, we walked together, we went through stuff together. And just last week, they come over and said, yeah, but you've been praying, oh God, anoint me. And he says, okay, fine, come with me to the sacrifice. See, David had no idea. As a matter of fact, he's totally oblivious to all of this. See, the word slips out. And so the boys are lined up in the backyard. You understand? Jesse's sons, they're all lined up. Now, they are all getting prepared because they've heard that Jesse, his son, one of his sons, is going to be king. And Brother Samuel's coming down, and he's going to do the ordination service. And we're all so happy to have Brother Samuel with us this evening. Praise God. Brother Samuel, would you just step right up here with your horn of oil? And here they are. And Samuel starts down the line, and they're doing the best they can. Eliab. Abinadab. Watch Shammah. On down the line. He looks at him. Jesse said, you see the big one up on the other end of there? He got an arm bigger than my leg. Look at him again. God said, you're looking on the outside. I'm looking for a heart man. I'm looking for a heart man. I'm not looking for a face. I'm not looking for talent. I'm looking for hearts. Looking at him again. Going down the line again. Finally he says to Jesse, have you got any other boys? I mean, David wasn't even invited to the meeting. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't even get in the lineup. He wasn't even asked to come to the yard. You got any other sons? Well, I mean. Well, there's. Did you see Shammah? Did you take a look at him? Eliab, come over here. I want you to show him your arm. Take a look at this thing. Samuel said, you got any other boys? Any other sons? Well, I got David. He's yeah. Oh, you were looking for a king, huh? Well, I got David. He's back keeping sheep. Just the thought of it tickles me now. Yeah, well, Brother Samuel, praise God. Brother, we're going to line up one more time and let you go down the row here. He said, go fetch him. David? Yeah, the one. Is that his name, David? Go get him. Eliab. Yes, sir. Go get David. Whoa. Now that's a deal. That ought to have been fun. I'd like to have been down there. David has got his britches rolled up above his knees, and he's down there wading in a stream. And he's singing, he leadeth me beside the still water. He restoreth my soul. Hey, the Lord is my shepherd. Now, all you sheep, help me out. Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. David, Daddy wants you. What? I don't think Eliab was happy. Daddy wants you, David. With me? Okay. He comes in the yard dragging that old harp behind him. Every stick it hits. Boom, 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 boom. Britches still up above his knees. Here I am, Dad. Samuel never stopped. He just run toward him. I mean, David could not have known. First of all, he did not anticipate the crown like his brothers did. He didn't lust for it like his brothers did. He didn't seek it like his brothers did. You don't hear me. He didn't line himself up and try to look apart. This boy is totally uninterested. He is totally, absolutely removed from the knowledge of what it means. He doesn't even know. How could he then have known? I mean, while they're in with the mama's measuring tape trying to get the size of their head for the crown, you know, they're writing down, this is my head size. They're getting ready to give it to Samuel. If they get the nod, hey, here it is. It's a 13 3/4 right here. They got a big head. They never did buy a hat bigger than 7.5, but it's 13 now. But David, he's not measured up for a crown. He's not ready for greatness. He couldn't have known. He couldn't have known that it would be 15 long, lonely, breaking, smashing, crushing years from the oil to the gold. He didn't know that when that oil fell down on him and ran down those curls and down in his ears and in his eyes, he didn't know that morning when it got on him like that, when his brothers all mad and standing back, their hands in their pockets. David, my God, I mean, anybody else, he can't play the organ anyhow. Everybody knows that. David, my God, I mean, anybody else, he can't play the organ anyhow. Everybody knows that. I don't know why they got him to lead this thing. See, he didn't know. They sure didn't know. But he couldn't have known the process, because in just a little while, he's going to go down and see his brothers again. He's got this oil on his head, but he's just going to go down and take them bread and cheese, that's all. And he goes down to the battle where they're fighting. Are y'all okay? He's just going to take them some victuals. He's just going to take them some food. He doesn't have any ulterior motives. He's innocent in this thing. He just go down and say, here you are. I brought y'all some. What'd you come down here for? They're still mad at him. They still hate him because he's got oil on him. Oh, you thought it was going to be fun. No, it's going to be hell. Whoever told you that to be anointed was awesome and wonderful and glorious? All y'all want to be the pastor. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. A man or woman who is chosen by God has to also be equipped in an unusual fashion, because they're going to go through some stuff you couldn't believe. God told Samuel, right, you're headed for a sacrifice, David. David answered and said, hey, what you come down here for? You come down to see the battle. Hey, is there not a cause? I mean, here's some bread and cheese and all that, but maybe there's some reason I'm here. And then that big giant starts roaring over on the hill, and David goes over and knocks him in the head, cuts his head off, brings it back, sets down, on Saul's table there with a little frothy, bubbly, jello, bloody, and just kind of slides it across to him and says, here you go, your majesty. Shh. From that moment, hey, David, he's done married the king's daughter. The next thing you know, David is commander-in-chief of all of Saul's forces. The next thing you know, his best friend is Jonathan, Saul's son, the prince of all the land. Oh, my goodness, I wish I was David. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, you lucky dog, you. Oh, David. Wow, David. Oh, how wonderful. Really? Now Saul's trying to pin him to the wall. Yeah, with a javelin. And now he's hiding and crawling out the window and saying goodbye to his wife. And it won't be very long, she's going to be married up to another man. And he's going to tell Jonathan, I love you. And they're going to embrace like brothers, but they're not going to see each other again. The next time David looks at Jonathan's face, it'll be sitting up on a pole, on a wall, where he has been killed and mocked. And his head is on top of the battlements of the Philistines. Ha! He never knew he was on a path to loss. It's the loss of his wife and the loss of the kingdom. And it's the loss of the king's table. And that's not all. It's the loss of his best friend. But more than that, he's already lost his father's house. He's lost his sheep. He's lost the peace that he used to have when he wrote all of those hymns and psalms you love to sing. He's lost that. Now he's lost his appetite. His hunger is raging. And then he's weak. And now he's sick. And he goes and asks somebody, go ask that man over there, that Nabal man. Ask him if he could get us a little something to eat. And they go over and say, Nabal, David, you know, David, he's hungry, wants some sheep. You know what the answer is? Who is David? He's not only lost his honor, he's lost his reputation. Now he's down in the land of the Philistines. He's acting like a madman. He's acting like a fool. Are y'all still here with me? He's trying to hide down in the lands of his enemies. Now his enemies discover who he is. They treat him better than his brethren. They're willing to let him join their army. They're willing to let David come and live with them. Now he's, hey, the only people that would stay around him are thugs and criminals. He's got 600 men. They're called mighty men, but they're mighty mean men. They're mighty bad men. That's why they're mighty, because they're thugs. They're criminals. Nobody going to hang out with David but nasty folks. Now, that's not the worst part. He doesn't dare get around good folks. If he does, he'll get them in trouble. He went down to some of his brethren, you know, down yonder in Nob. He was a little hungry, you know. Priest gave him a little showbread. Remember the story? He ate the showbread and he said, hey, listen, I'm anointed, but I don't have a sword. I'm anointed, but I don't have a house. I'm anointed, but I don't have a friend. You got any swords around here? He said, well, that sword you took off Goliath several years ago, it's back yonder. He said, that's a good one. Bring it here. He strapped. That's good. And Doeg, his name means dog, Egyptian, he's watching that. The good man of God, the good priest of Nob, gave him the sword, gave him something to eat out of the priest's storehouse. Doeg runs and tells Saul. You know what Saul did? He sent an army down there. And because they helped David, he slew 85 preachers. 85 priests of Nob died because they were kind to David. He's an ignominy to everybody. He has leprosy as far as they're concerned. Stay away from David. Whatever you do, get away from David. Yeah, and then finally, even the Philistines who had enlisted him in their army, they started murmuring, saying, no, if we ever go fight the Israelites, he'll change sides on us. I don't think we better let him in the army. And then they kicked him out. Said, well, I'm sorry. Achish, the king, said, I'm real sorry. You know, we thought we could let you stay, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And out of the kindness of this king who was an enemy to Israel, he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a city. The name of the city is Ziklag. You've been running now for 14 years, David. I'm going to give you this city. At least you can lock the doors at night. Give you a little bit of security. I know you need a little security. You can bar the windows up at night, and you and your family can be in there. You don't have to worry about somebody sneaking up on you in the dark. There's a well in there. You don't have to let these men go all the way through and break through to Bethlehem and try to get water for you. There's a well in there. You can drink your own water. And there's room for all your men in there. You can have your own town. And I think finally, you've come to your rest and you've come to your peace. And now everything's going to get better for you. That's going to be good, isn't it, David? He said, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm a little weary. I've been running here a long time. I don't understand. You know, when they poured that oil on me, it seemed like the minute they put that oil on me, it all started. I don't understand it, but it's when that oil hit me in the head. I didn't even know there's any problems up to then. I was enjoying the sheep myself, and just kind of singing to them and loved my harp. I don't even know where my harp is. And my daddy, he loved me. He did, you know, my brothers, they're always snotty, but, you know, big brothers, how they are anyhow. But I don't even have my daddy anymore. And then Saul, he was going to be nice to me, I guess, but he won't let me sit at his table either. And I married this beautiful girl, Michael. I haven't seen her in 13 years. I understand she's married to another man. I really miss her too. And I don't know. But I thank you for this town, and I'm going to receive it from you, and I'm going to live in it, and I appreciate it. We'll be going up there in a few days. And they went up and got everybody situated, and David and all for a couple of days, and came back home. And would you believe it? The Amalekites, they came and burned his town down. Stole his wives. Stole his kids. Stole his men's wives. Stole their kids. Stole his cows. Stole his sheep. Stole everything. David comes and sits down in the ashes of what he thought was going to be some solitude. When he thought finally he could get a little bit of rest, he's been through all kinds of struggles, all kinds of pain. Did you ever get to the place where even the people that were nearest to you, hey, isn't it amazing? They're always wanting to kill the preacher. Stole his sheep, stole everything. David comes and sits down in the ashes of what he thought was going to be some solitude. When he thought finally he could get a little bit of rest, he's been through all kinds of struggles, all kinds of pain. Did you ever get to the place where even the people that were nearest to you, hey, isn't it amazing? They're always wanting to kill the preacher. David's the one that got the thug out of jail. David's the one that got the man up out of prison. David's the one that fed him when he was hungry. David's the one that paid his bills, signed a note for him, did all of this. Isn't it amazing when you get in pain what you do? Now, David, the man who had given them a little light and hope, is now the target of their criticism and of their anger and of their grief. And they say, let's kill David. Now, David has lost, it's the last straw. He's lost his city. He's lost his wives, and now his men, the only thing he had left, are threatening to stone him to death. This is where character is really exposed. You never show character in a faith line somewhere. You never show character when you're dancing, when everything's high. Character is never witnessed at its highest moral peak. When you have the blessing of God and you say, oh, God is so good to me, I'm so happy. It's when everything that can go wrong does go. You invented Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen, it's done happen to you. Can't nothing else happen. We've been there, Gary. I've been there where it could nothing else happen. It wasn't all everybody else's fault either. Some of it was my fault. A bunch of it was my fault. I couldn't help it. I was just there. I don't know why. Born out of time, born out of season. I don't know why. But I know that it hurts when everything you thought you had is gone. And everything you ever loved is sour. And all. Did you ever just sit and say, I could have been an attorney? God. I mean, I can drive a truck, my God. I can crunch them gears. I don't have to be here. I mean, I gave up a profession to come in here and just work at the church. Lord God, now look. Gee,
I mean, there can't nothing else happen, can it? Oh, yeah, it can. Yeah. Trust me. Something else can happen. Oh. I mean, Eliab ought to go up and kiss his ring and say, David, I thank you that your head caught all that oil. Shammah ought to run up and hug him and say, oh, brother, I want to thank you for stepping in front of me when I was about to get anointed. God chose you. Woo! Hey! I mean, David has been through it. I mean, there's nobody going to play the piano for him now. He's sitting in the ashes of what was the last hope he had. It wasn't even given to him by his brethren. It was given to him by an enemy. His brethren won't even speak to him. And now this is gone. My God. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask for this. If I could just go back. Oh, God. If I could go back 15 years, I'd never have left that stream. I'd still be wading in it. I mean, oh, Lord God. I mean, that old rock where I sat one day and said, he's a shelter. It was just after that hard rain, a little hail mixed in it, when the sky was rosy and green. He had the sheep all gathered up in just a little cleft of the rock, and he was hid up under a big old side of one of those Judean hills, and he said, ooh, there is no rock like our God. He's a shelter in the time of storm. He's a strong tower that I can run into. I'd never leave it. I'd stay there where there are still waters, where there are green pastures. I would have written more songs. I would have enjoyed more services. I would have. Yeah, but it's too late now. It's too late now. You're too far into this thing now. You've tasted too many things. You've been through too much. And now for you to stop would be so wrong. But you think you can't go another step. You can't take another situation. You don't want to open the mail. You're scared to answer the telephone. Somebody in here knows what I'm talking about. If you do, say yes. And David just finally had to encourage himself. This is where character is, when he says, hey, I've chased, I've run, I've hid, I've dived, I've dove, I've done it all, but bring me somebody who can worship. Get me a priest. If you can't dance, then come put some shoes on my bleeding feet. Bring me an ephod. I'm not looking for a priest. You don't have to tell me nothing. I'm not looking for a word from you. I don't need another word. Just bring me the garments. I'll put them on myself. I'll wear them myself. You don't have to sing no songs for me. You don't have to build me up for my sermon. Just bring me a priest ephod. Let me touch those stones. Set them down here. Get away from me. Ah! Oh, God. He could have just as easily said, get me out of this. I don't want to be anointed. I want to be the unanointed. I'm tired of this. I've had it. He said, I want to know one thing, God. Do you want me to get up out of these ashes? Do you want me to pursue? Wait a minute. This man is a total idiot. You could just so easily sit there in the dust of your paradox and in the ashes of your loss. And David says, shall I pursue? He doesn't have one man. They've all threatened to kill him. He doesn't have an army. He doesn't have a city. He doesn't have a sword. He ain't got a wife. He don't have a kingdom. He ain't got nothing but just sticky hair. And he rises up out of that stuff. I mean, it would have been easy to say, God, you anointed me. I know it was you. You shouldn't let this happen. He didn't do that. He just said, do I just pick up here and go on? Do I pursue? And just tell me, do I overtake him? I mean, he was satisfied to chase him even if he knew he couldn't catch him. It didn't matter if he could catch him. He just wanted to know if God wanted him to chase him. See, sometimes it doesn't matter what you get out of this thing. It's just, what do you want me to do now? Tell me where I go now. It's from dot to dot and from dot to dot. And the fact is, the artist knew what the picture looked like. You only know where the next dot is. You just got to go to the next dot and then up to the next dot. It's only after 15 years of going from one tragedy to another that you look down and say, oh, that's the picture. God said, pursue. Then he said something else I've come to preach to you tonight. He said, you will without fail. Come on, somebody say without fail. You will without fail recover all. Hey! Y'all ready to go? I mean, they've been going for 14 and a half years. Y'all ready to go? Been thinking about quitting this and doing something else? No, I don't think so. Here we go now. Where are we going? I don't know. Who we chasing? I don't know that either. Whoever it was that come here and did this to us, that's who we're going after. Where are they? I don't know. What are you going to do? Pursue. Which way did we go? I don't know. See if you can find something somewhere. There's one little clue, one little hint, one little old scrawny leftover guy. Been thrown out here, don't amount to nothing. Sometimes the greatest word I ever got from God was from some Egyptians, some Amalekites, folks that everybody else wouldn't let in their church. And they're so broken, and they're so crushed, and they're so hurt. They'll say, I'll tell you everything if you just won't turn me back over to that thing I've been in. You ever seen any of those kind of people? The world's full of them right now. The charismator has given us millions of them. No foundation, no structural teaching. I don't think so. A message. Here we go now. Where are we going? I don't know. Who we chasing? I don't know that either. Whoever it was that come here and did this to us, that's who we're going after. Where are they? I don't know. What are you going to do? Pursue. Which way did we go? I don't know. See if you can find something somewhere. There's one little clue, one little hint, one little old scrawny leftover guy. Been thrown out here, don't amount to nothing. Sometimes the greatest word I ever got from God was from some Egyptians, some Amalekites, folks that everybody else wouldn't let in their church. And they're so broken, and they're so crushed, and they're so hurt. They'll say, I'll tell you everything if you just won't turn me back over to that thing I've been in. You ever seen any of those kind of people? The world's full of them right now. The charismator has given us millions of them. No foundation, no structural teaching, a message that's half true and half false, a fractional gospel paraded as the whole, a faith message that says you can't suffer, a worship message that says there's no pain, a warfare message that says you have to fight, when the battle is really the Lord's. Until people have learned that it's not true and have settled back into a social acceptance, satisfied with mediocrity, dead in religiosity. And they're doing what God said to do, but they never heard the next voice from God. I told you about that. That's why most of all of us would have killed Isaac, because God said to. And so we live in death, having done exactly what God said to do, because we did what he said to do too long, because we didn't hear the next dot, and we weren't willing to go past the next point of pain.
And we said, no, I don't believe I can do that. I'm going to stay right here. And when you do, you don't hear the next voice, then you live in the last voice. And when you live in the last voice, it might be exactly, paradoxically, opposite of the next voice. Take thy son, thine only son, offer him. The next one says, lay not your hand on the lad. You better listen to the next voice. Don't touch the lad. Don't kill your promise and live in death. Come on, somebody say yes. David gets down to the brook Besor. 600 men going to get their stuff back. Finally got the courage up. And then they get down by the brook Besor, and 200 of the guys say, I don't think we can make it. Huh. I mean, we followed this guy forever. I mean, we've been every place with him. Oh, Lord. I mean, the water looked cool. I'll stick my feet down here just a little bit. Hold just a minute, David. Don't, just give me just a minute here. No. Oh, yes. Oh, glory to God. Brother David, I don't believe. I just heard the Lord say to me that I'm supposed to stay here and pray. I believe I just heard her voice say that, lo, I have given thee this ground upon which thou sittest. Yea, the water into which thou dippest thy dirty feetest is going to be wonderfulest to thy boners. Yea, I can't go no farther. Ooh. 200 of them. They're not going anywhere. So David took 400 men. He went down there and whipped the daylight. I love it when he said he fell on them. Let's all say he fell on them. But let me tell you, it wasn't just David that fell on him. Let me tell you what fell on him. The loss of his pastures and his sheep and his sweet water was a weight in his soul. The loss of a kingdom and a king. The loss of a wife. The loss of a best friend. The loss of food. The loss of water. The loss of sleep. The loss of nights. The loss of things was weight. Hey, let me tell you about those weighty people. When they fall on an enemy, the pain of all the years falls on it with him. When he fell on him, he didn't just fall, but his anguish fell, his burden fell, his hurt fell, his loneliness fell. It all fell on, and he whipped them in the evening time and got up in the morning and whipped them some more and whipped them all day long. And when he got through, hey, you're only going to lose so long. I hate to tell you, but it's about over. There's been a marvelous, enormous paradigm shift in the spirit. You've been in the wilderness long enough. God's about to bring you out into a wealthy place. Hey, somebody needs to get on your feet now. Woo, yeah, play that organ a little bit. Handa, ya. Hey. Yeah, but you don't know what I went through. Yeah, but I know what you're going to get back. Yeah, but you don't know what I lost. Yeah, but I know what you're going to recover. There's not going to be one thing. It may come in a different face. It may come in a different package. But everything you ever lost is coming home. You're going to get it all. You're going to recover everything. Without fail, you're going to get everything. Everything. Come on, somebody say everything. Come on, say everything. Everything. The building's coming back. The children are coming back. Mama's coming back. Daddy's coming back. Organizational friends who left you, they're all coming back. God's going to bring it all back. Well, I know you've been very patient with me. But I want to tell you, wilderness doesn't last forever. But John the Baptist can't have a ministry without one. And he will be in the wilderness until the time of his showing unto Israel. And Moses will have to have one. It'll be 40 years long. But he'll come out of that seeing burning bushes, bearing rods that turn into serpents, turning waters over, killing pharaohs and children. He will come out of wildernesses to do that. It will be said of messiahs that redeem you, out of Egypt have I called my son. You will not receive anything gloriously marvelous in your life that didn't come out of a tragic, unbelievable, unspecified, undignified, undetailed, unspeakable agony Whatever you have that's great will be birthed of sorrow. Whatever you have that's marvelous will have been unbelievably painful in your life. But it has to be that way. Mamas forget by morning the pain if they can just hold the baby in their bosom. You won't remember because God's about to take you to Hebron. And when he does, the very fact that you would take a priest's garment, the very fact that you would partake of showbread, the very fact that you would be willing to walk into enemy territory wearing their own sword, the idea that you would spare an old system when you had it in your clutches and could have destroyed it with one fell swoop, and yet you said, I will not touch the Lord's anointed, and you knew you were anointed. The fact that you bear that character in your spirit, God will take you to Hebron, and he will not only make you a king over a kingdom, but he'll make you a priest and a prophet, and you'll be crowned 3 times: prophet, priest, and king. A type of this church, a type of the New Testament church. We are prophets, priests, and kings. Hallelujah. You know why? Because you sang it tonight. These are they that came out of great tribulation, and they have washed their robes white in the blood of the Lamb. Where did they come from? Out of tribulation. Where did these folks come from? Where did this gang come? Where did this remnant church come from? I'm going to tell you, it didn't come out of soft religion. It didn't come out of some sideshow. It didn't come out of some production. It didn't come out of some kind of a jealous spirit. Jealous brothers don't get this crown. This anointing comes out of great tribulation.